Perfect. So how are you doing today? And thank you so much for taking the time to come talk to me.
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's nice and sunny out here in California this morning, so I can't complain. So where are you located?
I am based in Colorado.
Okay. Are you from Colorado? Are you born and raised there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. Yeah, Colorado's a nice place. I've been there a few times. It's a little cold, but it's nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
That's a
been
nice.
years since I've been there, but the last time I went, I had a great time. I a huge fan of your work, obviously. I've been following you for a while. And as I was oh, you know what? First I want to talk about when I followed you on Twitter. I thought this was great. It was a very nice interaction because I had followed you and then you sent me a message and you asked me to tell me about myself. And I thought, okay, I mean, that's fair. That, that's nothing crazy. She wants to, just make sure I'm not a maniac or anything like that. That's very cool. So so I did. And then you allowed me to follow you. So thank you very much. But I thought that was very, very smart of you, actually. That was it's a good way to weed out the pervs and the crazies from keeping an eye on you. I guess.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's just a good way of like curating my own following.
Hmm.
Because like if I don't like you, I'm not going to follow you.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, absolutely. I 100% agree. It's a great way to do it. First, I want to know, were you trained? Did you take any art classes or study art in college? This is all self-taught.
All self-taught. I stopped taking like art classes like when I was 14. I was just
Yeah.
not vibing with my teachers. So
Uh-huh.
I just kind of did my own thing without any real direction. I guess YouTube is a good teacher.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It really is. For a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So you've been drawing your whole life then. You've been creating forever. So this is nothing new to you.
kind of. I've been drawing for like forever, but like 2020 is when I really was like, I want to learn how to paint now because I
Hmm.
never tried that. And so that's kind of new, but the actual creative aspect, no, that's not new.
Okay. Oh, okay. I see. All right. So are you a full-time artist now? Or
Oh,
are you not yet? Well, not yet. Is that something that you're looking forward to? Do you see yourself being just an artist full time? That's it. No other job, living the life of a starving artist.
see, when you say starving artist, it to the coffin, absolutely not. But yeah, I never dreamt of being an artist or a full-time artist. Like
Hmm.
me sharing art was never like to like gain anything at first. It just
Yeah.
kind of happened. So I'm just seeing where it takes me. I have
Uh-huh.
a lot of other interests, so it's kind of like the side still.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I read on your artist statement on your print shop, which is great. It kind of, I mean, if someone doesn't really know you, kind of gives a bit of an insight to who you are. And it says here, hold on, I wrote this down, that you when you started, being a little bit more creative, your creative journey began more as therapy for you. Was that always a tool that you used to, I don't know, sort of decompress and work things out?
No. So actually I stopped doing art for like years before like 2019.
Mhm.
But then like a lot of things happened, like a lot of death and a lot of heartbreak. And so after that I was like, I don't actually know how to cope with anything, so I'll just do the one thing that actually made me happy that I
Yeah.
stopped doing. And so, yeah, so it's not something I like stuck with or like always did to cope, but it's one of the few things that works well.
Yeah. 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 No, it's great. Yeah. I mean, you got to use what works for you. And, I'm not an artist, but when I started seeing a therapist, one thing that she told me to do was, she was like, "All right, if you can, draw, do that." I was like, well, I'm not that good." But then she said, "Okay, well, something that might work for you is get an adult coloring book and just kind of sit there with it and use that to kind of, just calm yourself down when you need to, or when you're feeling stressed out or depressed." And it helps. Like it really works. I thought, what am I gonna do with a coloring book? I am a grown man. But I bought the coloring book and some colored pencils, and it really, really helps. It's a really good tool to use. I can absolutely see why someone would use art as therapy. Has your family known that you were always this creative and artistic? And when you started to, put your art out there and sell things, and you are on a couple different NFT sites, which I want to talk about a little bit, because I mean, you really did put yourself out there, which is great. Did they take to that kindly? Was there any advice or any pushback from your friends and family that you got?
So in real life, I only have like two and a half friends.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
But with family, I don't actually tell them about my art or anything I'm doing. Like we're not close like that. So it's kind of just been like me doing it by myself. The only person in my family that like actually supports anything I'm doing or knows anything that I'm doing is my grandma.
uh-huh.
And like she's been funding this app really
Yeah.
with like, gift cards. So I'm like,
Oh,
she knows everything.
yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, outside of that, my family doesn't actually know like the extent of
Uh-huh.
what I've been doing, how I've been
Yeah.
doing it, or my art.
That's so interesting because when I look at your pieces online, I mean you can see like the introspect in a lot of these. A lot of them feel very personal, and yeah, no, I mean at least that's what I took from it. I mean, and they're great. Once you really started to take it serious, was there a point where you, I don't know if maybe struggled or had to deal with maybe not getting a good feedback from your art? Was it easy for you to just go ahead and share things on social media and mint things, mint NFTs and things like that?
No, that was actually like a kind of long process for me. So like I joined like a group chat and like that helped me get confidence to actually start posting art
Yeah,
on Twitter because I was like sharing it within that safe group chat. And
yeah,
then after that, I just kept interacting with people that were like in the NFT space and they're like, you should mint your art. And I'm like, I don't know anything about crypto, but
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Uh-huh.
And oddly enough, I feel like it was pretty well received, at
Yeah,
least last year. So I'm like,
yeah.
it turned out okay.
Okay.
But
No, yeah. Yeah, no, they're great. So as far as, the NFT space goes, was it was it easy to kind of figure out the ins and outs of it? And, you know, because you collect also, I saw that too. Was there any sort of learning curve to get to know it? Because I know a few artists that I've talked to are thinking about doing it. And, usually the first response I get is, I don't really understand it. Or, it's just so much different, especially for traditional artists.
absolutely.
Um, so yeah, no, that's awesome. So and you're on Rarible, Foundation, OpenSea. I mean, Makerspace. It's great. And when I saw that, because I've been wanting to talk to an artist that's, I mean, I've talked to artists that have minted, a couple pieces, on OpenSea or something like that. But you've got a few of them on there. Have you found more success as far as selling art with NFTs or more so with prints or selling originals?
Oh, NFTs for sure. I feel like I don't know why, but I feel like people in that space were just
Mhm.
more receptive to my art
Okay.
and the more personal nature of it than like people that would normally buy prints. But
Mhm.
I also like in terms of like the learning curve, I had someone walking me through the whole process.
Oh, that's great.
So I
Yeah.
was very lucky in that regard. I didn't actually like blindly go into anything. I had someone I could like constantly be like, hey, what is this?
Yeah.
Hey, how do I do this?
Yeah.
Hey, shout out to him. But I think it's pretty easy after you like mess around with it like two or three times. You
Yeah.
start to see a pattern and how to like do everything.
Okay. Okay, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah, because even for me, I mean, I've just as someone that, consumes a lot of art, goes to a lot of galleries and things like that. When the NFTs started becoming big, at first I wasn't sure, because of the NFTs that were making the most money didn't really seem like personal art to me. You know what I mean? And I'm more on the side of like the actual creative. I mean, like someone like you that's, taking the time and not just doing these, sort of copy paste sort of NFTs. They're all, they're all very original, and very detailed. So, when I first learned about it, I thought, well, is this going to be good for artists? But, as time goes by and more traditional artists, or even, well, yeah, digital artists also, I see that they're getting more success and more people are starting to collect them. So I mean, I think it's awesome. It's a great way to get your art out there. So yeah. All right. So you mostly work with acrylic paints and digital art. Is that right?
Yeah, still mostly acrylic. Digital's not my strength, but depending on like my idea, it
Hmm.
works better.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, they're absolutely great. And I've got, I usually pick a few pieces that I want to talk about during the interview, but there were I've written so many down. I'm gonna have to narrow it down as we talk right now because there's so many of them I want to talk about. But let's but no, before we get into the pieces, there was something else that I had read in your artist statement that I thought was very interesting and very true when you look at your pieces, is that your work embodies the peculiar and dreamy aspects of femininity. Now, and that's, I mean, you can easily see that when you look at your pieces. But the question that I had for you was, have you always felt that sort of power within your femininity? Was it always something that you express? Maybe not just in art, but I mean, just, in like everyday life.
I feel like it's something that's always been kind of innate for me, but gradually, like as life got weirder and
Yeah.
you have weirder experiences, you start to like really understand like how divine femininity is and like just I feel like in a way like my understanding and growth towards understanding femininity, my
Mhm.
own, has like brought me closer to like the divine or like God or whatever
Mhm.
you believe in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always been there, but it's more prevalent now.
Another thing that you wrote, which I found very interesting also, so she believes that true power and esteem are gained through reflective isolation. Okay. And I asked this as someone who's had to deal with like internal problems and didn't see a therapist till I was, I was in my 30s, you know what I mean? And how that statement really, when I read it, really, hit me, and it made perfect sense to me because there's a lot of things that people either deny or just kind of push inside of themselves and don't want to let it out. But when you do sit down with yourself, well, this is, what really helped for me, what my therapist taught me is, you know, sometimes go in a room, you can meditate, just be by yourself somewhere where it's quiet and really ask yourself those questions that you've been denying and that you've been holding in your entire life. Now, you know, as I read that statement, I wanted to ask you, is that something that, internal reflectiveness and just really sitting alone with your thoughts, is that something that you express in your artwork? Is there any correlation to, really, looking into yourself and what you create?
I feel like because like when I got to start doing art, I was also like getting into like astrology.
Yeah.
So like I feel like they're also very interconnected, I guess, in that way. And the further I got into astrology was like the further I was going into myself and like issues and things that I didn't realize I had
Yeah.
or
Oh yeah.
subconsciously like suppressed. And I just feel like I'm glad, like, for me, the pandemic happening and like that whole isolation period was very good for me just because I spent so much time painting and creating and really diving into who I am, what I want, and what feels right for me, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. And it's funny you say that because, when I gosh, I hate to, keep talking about myself, but you like researching you and just like, looking up all your things made me really sort of reflect on myself. It was almost like another journey I was going on. But I started therapy and then the lockdown happened in LA, like the next day. So I had one in-person session and the rest were, online for a while. And that sort of isolation, that because I mean LA was locked down. I mean, especially where I live, you could go outside any time of the day and the streets are empty, which is crazy for, a place like this. But but yeah, that alone time, and that, you really had a lot of time to think. And that's when I really, because I had the idea for the show for a while. And this is when I started. It was during the lockdown, after I had been struggling to, put this all together. I procrastinate, and that's a whole other issue. But I finally, after sitting down with myself and having all of this time, can't go anywhere, is, it helps. And it helps to really deal with those issues that, most of us have been carrying since we were children. So
Right?
so yeah, absolutely.
You can't really run away from it when you can't
Yeah.
run away from
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, really, really, absolutely right. Okay, yeah, I want to talk about astrology for a second. You have a lot of astrological pieces. That Pisces piece I want to talk about later. That, I don't know, there's something about that piece that really speaks to me. I am a Leo, and I didn't see any Leo pieces, but that's okay. But yeah, there's something about that piece that just really, and that might have been the first one I've seen of yours. I'm not sure, but that one just really, really catches my attention. I don't know what it is about it. It's a fantastic piece. So, how does astrology play in the way that you create? Now that you like you said, you really, once you kind of figure that out, and with the also understanding of yourself, it sort of opened up something inside of you. So, what part does that play in your everyday life and the way you create art?
Oh, so like my everyday life, usually like if I'm like aware of like what a planet's doing that like
Mhm.
rules something significant in my chart, it helps me be more mindful of how I behave.
Okay. Yeah. Uh-huh.
um, Not choosing violence.
Yes.
And as for my art, well, around that time, I was like, switched over to learning about Vedic astrology, which is like
Okay.
Hindu astrology.
Yeah.
And a lot of dots connected that weren't connecting at first. And the further I learned about it, the more like I felt inspired by it and started making art relating to it or
Mhm.
whatever like phase, or it's like a time period I was in.
Sure.
So like the Pisces piece specifically, I was in my 12th house perfection, which is like basically it's like a time period where you deal with all like the things relating to the 12th house or Pisces.
Okay.
And that's a lot of loss. That's a lot of spirituality. That's a lot of kind of feeling like you're just floating in a void.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, yeah, it kind of like inspired a lot of my art and further my introspection of
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. Yeah, because as far as some of these astrology themed pieces, oh geez, another one, Phases of Gemini, which is, that's probably, I hate to say my favorite, but that's probably my favorite piece of yours. It is. I showed my daughter when I was, just looking up your pieces, and my daughter she's 10. She's a amateur artist right now. And so I've been trying to explain to her, art is just not, super realism, right? Like, it can be figurative, it can be whatever you want. And I showed her the Phases of Gemini piece, and she freaked out. Oh my God, you're gonna talk to her? Yes, I'm talking to her. All right. So
Oh,
so yeah, you've got another fan in my house. But yeah, so you have that one, the Aquarius piece. You've got I know there's a, what is the one?
I think there's a Virgo one.
Saturn. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and they're all absolutely wonderful. Now, do you make these certain pieces when they come to you, or is it when you're in that sort of, when the astrological, oh geez, I can't talk, excuse me, astrological signs sort of align for you to make these, or is it just on a whim?
So it's usually like based on like what I'm researching, because like I'll see a tweet about someone talking about a certain placement or like a certain aspect, and I'll be like researching it, and then suddenly I'm like, I'm inspired by this, so now I have to create it because it's this part of my chart and
Mhm.
it affects my life in this way.
Yeah, yeah, okay, no, yeah, no, that makes, yeah, I had that question when I was looking at it. I figured it would be something like that. Okay, so is there any correlation between where you grew up, your just your natural surroundings, and your upbringing, to the way you create? Did it have any impact on anything you create or how you create it all?
Um, yeah, I feel like so I grew up in like a very suburban, mostly white area,
Yeah.
and clearly
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
So, um, because of that, I kind of was more growing up, I was very more private with my artwork. I
Yeah.
wouldn't share it, I wouldn't show people. I just like created it, tucked it away. It was like sacred and private for me.
Yeah.
And I do feel like in a way that like made me very shy about my creativity
Hmm.
and resistant to like opening up in general. And then like once I started like, moved to a different city and just started over,
Yeah.
I felt like I felt safe enough to like open up and share with more people.
Okay. Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah, it's a very strange dynamic. I mean, I grew up in the city, right? I grew up in a very multicultural sort of place, but where I went to school was, I mean, my dad sent us to Catholic school out of the city. So I'm around kids I don't know that live in neighborhoods that I'm not from, which was always sort of like in high school, I was the only black guy in my class. And it's very, I mean, depending on the kids that are there, I don't know if it's, just because it was Catholic school that, everyone was very nice. And there were a lot of, children of immigrants there, but it can be tough sometimes to, I don't want to say fit in, but when everyone looks different than you, it can, it can affect you, especially when you're young,
Oh,
to
yeah.
sort of be yourself. Uh, yeah, yeah, no, that's for people who have, lived that sort of experience. It's a I know, I mean, not everyone is the same, but it's, I can relate, you know.
Yeah. I feel like even in those kind of dynamics or like situations, like the people of color kind of group themselves
Yeah.
together
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
try to feel safe there, but even that can feel off. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. No, I got it. Okay, and one more thing about your statement I wanted to talk about, which I thought was, you put it in a very good way. You said, combining your interest in art, dreams, and astrology, she hopes to create a world that welcomes the outliers. Do you consider yourself an outlier?
oh yeah, I am. I've always been like the black sheep or like the weird one in my family, in my
Yeah.
friend groups. I've That's just been my thing. I've
Yeah.
just kind of the strange one. So if the other strange people feel safe, we can all be strange together.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I'm 100% with that. Yeah. It's when people can really be themselves without, without really accepting the fear or, you know, what people might say about them or how others might think about them. Everyone is happy. There's a lot of weird people here where I live, so it's it's probably a little easier for those kind of people, especially creatives. Like I grew up for a long time. I lived in an arts district where it was an actual arts district, so there were a lot of starving artists and a lot of just really, I mean, I guess you can say weird if you, I mean, if it's something you're not familiar with, but that's how I grew up around a lot of these people, and that's kind of what made me who I am today. I was never, like I said, I grew up, I went to school with kids who are not where I'm from, who couldn't possibly understand what it is to live in some of the cities that I lived in that weren't, very nice. But living downtown in that arts district made me realize, okay, like it's okay to be who you want, to be, without having, to really put on some sort of facade for other people. So yeah, I like that. I like that. The outliers, yes, the outliers will inherit the earth. That's how I see it. Okay. All right. So I want to talk about a few of your pieces now. I mean, like I said, I wrote down a ton of them because there's just so many I want to talk about, and I know I can't, but I'll start with you have there's a digital piece, and I believe the other one, it's a set, it's an acrylic painting, the twin and digital twin pieces.
Oh, the digital twin one. Okay.
Yes. Okay, so those are self portraits. that you made of yourself? Are they self? Because I mean, when I see the painting and I see you, and I assume it's you are making these self portraits there.
Yeah.
Okay, now was there a reason for this, or is this how you see yourself, or how you think people perceive you?
So digital twin, that one's kind of interesting because it's like a collab piece with another
Uh,
artist.
okay,
That's like where the purpley colors and like
yeah.
all the work comes in. But like the actual like painting aspect,
Hmm.
um, basically that's just based on a picture I had from like years ago, and I was like, it's an interesting picture. I just want to
Yeah.
use some face. I didn't really put much thought into like how it relates to perception of like me at least.
Uh-huh.
But the other person that I worked with is a Gemini
Oh
also.
yeah.
So
Okay.
we were just like brainstorming, and he was explaining to me like this concept of like a digital twin, which is basically like your internet persona that has
Okay.
all the same interests and like basically all the data that you put on the internet, it's you. It's like
Yeah.
your footprint. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And as for like perception of like how others people see me, I've accepted like people don't see me clearly usually.
Okay.
And I just go with the illusions at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. That's a good answer. Okay, so there is another piece called Mama Saturn and Her Moons. And hold on, did I say that right? You know which piece I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so you said that this was a visual representation of a vivid dream that you had. Is that piece? Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Unless I'm unless I wrote it down incorrectly. Hold
I
on.
think you're talking about there's a different one that I know is a dream. So I
Uh-huh.
sold to someone. I think it's like nourishment of the divine mother. I
Oh,
think.
that's what it is. Yes, nourishment of the divine mother. I got the pieces mixed up. Okay, yes. All right, so that it's a great piece also,
Thank
but and I've seen a couple of your like Twitter posts, and you do talk about dreams. I think I responded to one of them actually. But do you? Because it's weird. So I dream every night, like very vividly. Like I didn't realize I've met a few people who say they don't really dream or they don't remember their dreams. I thought that to be insane because I just fall asleep for 5 minutes and I'll have what seemed like an hour long dream. So do you dream vividly all the time? And do you incorporate, I mean, other than this piece, do you incorporate, what you dreamt into your artwork?
Oh yeah. So I'm like an avid dream journaler. Like
Oh,
I write
okay.
everything down because
Yeah.
usually it's like I can remember like three different dreams when I wake up. So I'm like,
Yeah.
we're gonna write all this down. It does influence my art. That dream influenced my art because I was like, before that dream, I was having like a lot of sleep paralysis
Oh,
for like months.
yeah.
And so
Okay.
once that dream happened, it stopped. So I thought it was significant.
Yeah.
And yeah, the art that I'm currently working on is more so related to like an inner child dream that I had, or like
Okay.
met my 5-year-old self. So I'm always like inspired by my dreams too.
Yeah.
They're just strange.
Yeah. That's interesting. You know what? I wonder if there's some kind of correlation to sleep paralysis and people that dream like that because I still every once in a while I get it, but when I was, I'd say maybe like 10, 15 years ago, it seemed like almost every night, like sleep paralysis. And in the beginning it kind of freaks you out until until you realize, what's going on. And I think that's actually what kind of made it stop. I don't know if it was something like psychological, but I remember one time just laying down, not being able to move or, trying to scream and you can't talk. And then the next night, same thing. And I thought, okay, like I had already looked up to see what this is. I thought there was something wrong with me. Like, what the hell is happening? Am I going nuts? But no, but once I kind of was lying down, I thought, okay, I know what this is. This is going to pass soon enough. And then it started getting less and less and less. But I don't know, because like you said, I dream very vividly. Like sometimes I wake up and think, did this really happen? Like I've got to really like come to sorts with what it was. You know what I mean? Because it seems so real at the moment. But yeah, that's very interesting. I think that's very cool too. That your dreams are vivid enough, and journaling it is great because I mean sometimes after a while you kind of forget what happens. but
Right.
to incorporate that into your art, that's awesome. I think that's very cool. Very cool. Yeah, and that piece is absolutely wonderful. Yeah, nourishment of the divine mother. Yeah, I wrote that absolutely wrong. Okay, so all right, so we talked about the phase of Gemini, which is another excellent piece. The Pisces piece, which I don't know, is something about it that is just absolutely wonderful. Which one is this? There's one here called where did I wrote it down? The Three of Me.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay, which is a great piece. But I read that that was, you said, a recreation of a past work of something that you already did. All right, so did you paint over it, or did you just paint a new painting from the idea that you had before?
So second one. So basically I had like this old sketch from when I was in my teens of like these three trees going through like different emotional states.
Yeah.
It was in like colored pencil. So it's like I'm gonna paint this because it's interesting and I still like it, but I don't
Uh-huh.
like colored pencils. It's not my
Okay. Yeah.
so yeah, I just recreated that on a canvas and voila.
Yeah. Yeah. Great piece. Really great piece. Hold on. I wrote something about that one I wanted to ask you. Oh, okay, yeah, no, what I wanted to ask you, because I wasn't sure if it was something you painted over or not, but this is, still a question I like to ask. How do you know when a piece is finished? How do you know that you don't want to go back and add something else to it, or just completely want to start from scratch again? How do you know when it's done?
I'm honestly someone that will completely start from scratch
Yeah.
again. It's like, oh no. But when it's done, usually if it looks close enough to the idea or the vision I have in my head. Because like one thing I've realized, like not everyone like has the imagery of like their artwork in their head already. They're
Yeah.
just like, I'm going with the flow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not that person. Like I see it clearly in my head and it's just like trying to articulate that on like something tangible
Yeah.
and make it like somewhat real.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. No, that's great. Yeah, that's that is very interesting that you've got the picture already. Yeah. Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. See, I knew this was going to be an interesting conversation. All right. Interstellar, which is, oh man, that is an absolutely great. No, it seemed like there's a few different versions of this, or am I losing my mind? Because I saw there was a piece that you made where it was, so that interstellar piece looks like, I don't know if it was a photo that you had of you holding the art piece, and
Yeah.
then I see that you painted a piece of that photo. Oh yeah, that is absolutely wonderful. So hold on. So how did you get the idea to, all right, this is a great picture. I mean, it was a great picture, by the way, but I'm going to go ahead and make a painting and do my thing to this one. How did that come about?
I don't know like what made me think to do that. I just was like, this picture like captures like this moment of when okay, I guess I should give a little context. So like the outfit was basically like something that like my depressed outfit. I sit in that when I'm like sulky.
Okay.
Oh, I'm gonna feel like I'm not like sad anymore. And
Uh-huh.
then basically I like took a picture of that because I finally wasn't feeling sad anymore.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I thought it was such an interesting painting picture idea just because it kind of like covered a lot of things that like I wasn't aware about myself. Just like
Mhm.
my tendency to hide from things or play the part of the illusion and the mask, which is like the painting.
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
um and also just like once again, the magicalness of femininity and
yeah,
being
yeah,
very girly.
yeah, yeah. No, that's great. That's absolutely great. Okay. Do you feel like, I don't know if, maybe not now, but maybe ever, that maybe you wanted to hide your femininity, or maybe not show everything to the world? Because, all right, I've got four sisters, right? So I grew up with, around women, my entire life. So I'm not saying I'm, special or anything, but I've always had, the view that, obviously, women can do it. All my sisters, college graduates, very smart and, really good women, but that it's not always perceived that way, and sometimes can be perceived as a threat to some guys, which is absolutely true. You know, when you really show the woman that you are, it's sometimes not taken the right way, you know, or you get called names, and it gets very bad. So was there ever a time when you thought maybe I should keep this in?
Probably when I was younger, like in my teens, but like even now I'm like realizing I was just like poorly expressing that. I'm not a very masculine person. I don't exert force anywhere.
Yeah.
So basically I'm at this point in my life where I'm like, this is just what it is. This is what everyone's gonna get. I
Yeah.
also think like the people's perception of femininity is like very skewed,
Yeah.
and that kind of people confuse like what's feminine, what's masculine, like what actions that would be, and make it more human than I think it is.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I feel like in for me personally, my femininity is more so like my connection with the higher ups
Yeah.
and just following my intuition and letting that lead me rather than trying to force things to happen that aren't. And as for like people like um, being rude or not perceiving that well,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not the most tactful, so I do like to argue,
Yeah.
and I will. So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I like it is what it is.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. Absolutely. And as you should. I mean, I if I could speak, personally about myself, I like, oh gosh, this is going to sound bad. Um, I don't like a shrinking violet. If you understand what I'm saying. Like I like, a woman that's going to argue when you say some bullshit. You know what I mean? I think that's it's more it's more freeing to be with someone that can be themselves and not have to, like you said, sort of mask what they are really to please society, and has their own idea of what being feminine, being, a woman is. And instead of, oh, what are these people saying, or what is the general norms, or a lot of these things are very outdated anyways. So yeah, that's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Okay. I'm going to talk about a few more pieces, and then, yeah, we're getting to the end of this conversation. I think this is an older piece of yours because I saw it at like the beginning of your Instagram post. It's called Dissected. And
Oh,
I don't know. Yeah, there's something about that piece also that I don't know. It's very aesthetically pleasing to me. Is there any sort of connection with this piece and maybe what you've gone through, like internal reflections and things of that sort, where you've sort of dissected everything that makes you who you are?
so kind of that piece was like very old.
Yeah.
That was like one of the first pieces I painted
Yeah.
when I was
It's
like
great.
learning to paint. And
Hmm.
basically it was just like me like feeling like everything in my life was being ripped apart,
Hmm.
and like everything I knew about myself was being ripped apart, and I just felt like I was being dissected
Yeah. Yeah.
personally by like everything. And so like now that I think about it, I guess what you said makes sense. But in the moment, it was just me just portraying how I actually felt like
Yeah.
a limb here, a limb here, we're all
Yeah.
floating in space. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. All right. Okay, and there was I guess this is maybe one of your more recent pieces is, and I think I read this was a collab also. Um, what is this called? Who Am I? Oh yes. And it's,
Oh,
so yeah, I research, right? It's a it's well, I mean the colors are great, and I'm assuming this is you in the center of this piece. Is this, well, let me rephrase that. What was there any sort of meaning behind this piece? Because this is also another great I guess, kind of self-portrait of yourself. Was there some reason behind this piece?
Yeah, that piece specifically, it's going to turn into a series, but basically, I had a dream I met my inner child.
Mhm.
We like hugged or whatever. And I was like, then I woke up like thinking, what would satisfy my inner child? Being a Powerpuff Girl, but like in an alternate dimension, of course, because
Yes.
I'm normal. And so basically, that's where this is going.
Okay.
So the short colors relate to like whatever character that would be. Like this one
Uh-huh.
would be more like Buttercup, the more
Uh-huh.
aggressive one with teeth.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Yeah, that's a great piece. Yeah, the colors are great. Absolutely great. Okay. All right, so do you prefer like actually acrylic painting or okay, over making digital pieces?
oh yeah, digital, I feel like for me, it works better for planning ideas and like
Ah,
organizing it and getting out of my head more quickly.
yeah.
But like I need to actually like feel the texture of a canvas and like the process of painting, it just feels more immersive for me.
Okay.
And there's a disconnection for me in digital. I appreciate
Oh,
everyone else that's good at digital, but
yeah, sure. Yeah.
I don't feel connected to it.
I see. I see. Okay. All right, so then I would imagine that, you know, coming up with these, I mean, as far as just painting and creating goes, that it requires a lot of alone time and isolation. Do you sort of revel in that isolation and I mean, and with that being said, do you also make a like a consistent effort to make sure that you're not always isolated and alone?
I'm so comfortable being isolated and alone. It's
Yeah.
like kind of bad probably. But I think doing collab pieces with like people at least in my state has
Mhm.
helped me like actually go outside and
Yeah.
be around other people and realize I don't find humans annoying.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like painting is like a conversation with me and myself, and
Yeah.
I can talk to myself all day.
Yeah. 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 I like that. Yeah. I could absolutely relate to that.
I feel like, especially with the internet, it's just easy to be so overstimulated by everything.
Yes.
And just like getting a moment to like separate your feelings from other people's that you randomly picked up on the internet is really important.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, because you know what? This is why I had to stop really um reading about like politics and things like that. Because I'll read one thing and be pissed off the whole day. Like it could really ruin your mood, Because I grew up, I was a kid in the 90s, right? I mean, we had internet. This was probably like the birth of what the internet is today. Um, but it's definitely not like like it is now. Like not everyone had a computer. Not everyone even had the internet, dial-up internet was shit. So it's very tricky, I would think, for young people to sort of navigate their lives when yeah, sure, you can go outside and you can go do productive things and go see the world, but it's so easy just to get stuck in front of your phone or a computer and, like you said, just be overstimulated that when when other things that you should that should stimulate your mind, that you should go out and do, sort of don't really feel like anything because everything is so stimulating now. You get notifications on your phone, you immediately want to put your head down and look in your phone. So yeah. All right, this has been like a therapy session for me, Sharon. Thank you. Okay, so you said you have many interests, besides painting. Is there something else or any other things that you like to do in your spare time to sort of maybe get that same sort of therapeutic feeling you do from painting?
It's gonna sound weird, but like researching astrology stuff is
Yes.
like
Okay.
therapeutic for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay.
just like, I don't know, like even though like my brain's like churning and
Yeah.
turning, the wheels are turning, but like finding a connection that finally like makes sense to something that's happened in real life just
Yeah.
just feels so great.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can absolutely relate to that. That's, that's usually like if it's not like art related or like looking up sports, numbers or something. I really like to research things. If you check my YouTube history, you think, who is this nerd, man? Like, why is he why is he looking up all of these random things, But like ancient civilizations like really interest me, right? And you in school at least you get like a little bit, right? Everyone learns about like Rome, Greece, and Egypt. That's about it. Oh, and like Aztecs and things like that. But there's just so much information in this world that you don't know, that you'll never know. With all this information in the world, like, you'll learn something new. Absolutely.
Right.
If you could go anywhere in the world to create or just to be inspired, where would you go?
Probably, I really want to go to like England or the UK.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Why is that?
One, I like have like a weird like infatuation with their accents and like
Yeah.
British TV shows.
Uh-huh.
And like I feel like even though like they feel similar to the US, I feel like culturally there's just so many things that you miss out on by not
Yeah.
physically being there. And
Uh-huh.
I just want to experience it.
Yeah.
Not eating beans on toast, but
Yeah, yeah, no. Yeah, the food looks atrocious. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, UK. Is there an like a bustling art community where you are? And if there is, have you had any interest in, trying to show at a gallery or some sort of art market or anything like that?
I mean, I feel like Denver is like they do have like a really good art community. I've just never like been a part of it.
Yeah.
But I recently got into a juried exhibition in like a different city. So
Okay.
we'll see how this goes. It's like my
Yeah.
first time applying and first time trying. So
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Oh, and you got accepted just like that?
yeah.
See? See, the stars do align sometimes, right? That is awesome. So are you planning on maybe, applying to more galleries and trying to show more?
I think after I see how this experience goes, I'll
Yeah.
decide. Just because I've talked to like a lot of different artists and a lot of their feedback makes me not want to.
Really?
Like the whole like gallery fees thing, I'm
Oh,
not
sure.
feeling that. And
Yeah.
also like the politics of getting into certain galleries, I don't
Yeah.
feel that either.
Yeah.
So I feel like just seeing if it works out and the stars align, sure, I'll just keep doing that. If not, I can
Yeah.
always pivot into another like
Yeah.
lane.
Yeah. 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 See, yeah, the gallery fees or I mean, depending on the size of the gallery or just how greedy the gallery owner is, it could really start to add up. But there's this woman that owns an art gallery here in Los Angeles, God, who's really helped me out, like just so much. Meeting. She let me record an interview in her gallery. She's absolutely awesome, and she's the only gallery owner I know that doesn't take a fee. Lets the artist keep everything they sell. She's an artist herself, someone who just supports artists all the way. Um, I think that's a very commendable thing to do because I know some galleries out here, and man, let's just say it's for them not painting these paintings, it kind of makes you wonder why are you taking so much, But you said it's a business, that's kind of the way things go. All
Yeah.
right. Where would you like the people to find you and see your work? You're
Um,
you're in a lot of places. I know.
um, I feel like if you just want like a neat view of my work, Instagram. But if you just want like all of my random thoughts and my work, Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, that's where I followed you first. That's where I thought, who is this interesting person? I must follow you. Okay. Well, my last question would be, is there any advice that you would give to an up and coming artist? An artist who maybe is not confident enough to start showing or just even posting stuff on social media, maybe someone whose confidence is down and that doesn't believe in themselves.
Um, yeah, I would say make friends. Making friends builds your confidence like no other, in my opinion. And finding a group of people to even share within rather than just like jumping fully into posting to the full platform. Yeah, baby steps and just keep going. Confidence comes whenever you face adversity. So you got to do it either way if you want to get more confident.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Shai. Thank you for taking the time and talking to me. And I wish you nothing but success in the future. I mean, I'll be following you anyway, so I'll see what you want me to see. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.